supremacy is literally a joke. They know it, we know it, and they know that we know it. They will do anything to hold on to whiteness.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Hope you're doing well and welcome back to Kelly Real Talks. Today we're discussing white supremacy and what its downfall looks like. Our intent here is not to sensationalize things or seek revenge, but rather to provide accurate historical context as to the existence of the current challenge of white supremacy. Let's first watch these clips and I'll be back with my commentary. Kindly watch to the end.
You know, for as bad as the world seems right now, the United States, how out of control it is, how little power it seems that we have, the little bit of constitutional rights that we have are being violated, and you know, pretty much just we're being pinned against the ground, backs against the wall. It is such a blessing. I was just listening to Deontay Kyle's fucking podcast, and he was talking about just like the history of white privilege in this country, how they've run absolutely everything, and it is everything. And this is the fall of that system. Like, it's gonna get ugly. It's gonna get ugly before it ever gets pretty, but it'll burn down to the ground before we ever continue to live in this shit. And I know that because there is enough brown folk, melanated folk, native peoples of the world in this country to overtake that white supremacy. They're fighting. This is the last straw. They're trying to keep this control, but that's too far gone. This is the natural karma of the world, and I know it feels shitty. Trust me. I have a 3-year-old and I have a child on the way, and it's scary to think they're gonna have to grow up in this shit and the violence that comes behind this. But I also know that this is the last time that this battle is going to have to be fought, because there's a new world coming. They controlled everything. The world is crashing for a new world to be born, built, and lived in. And I know that shit to be true. Even if we don't get to actually live in it, I believe that this is a process of a new world truly being built where people could live heaven on earth. They don't gotta go through this bullshit. White supremacy, whiteness, white control of the world is going down. And it's not just in the United States. It's in the whole world. This is nature. This is just laws coming into play. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful for all the pieces of shit who are helping crash the system right now.
Instead of getting rage baited, I think it's important for all of us to understand what's really going on in America. Please let me explain. So right now, what we are witnessing is the downfall of what America has always been. America is literally built on top of pain, misery, depression, lies. I could go on, you know? And it's also built on fake power structures, meaning a lot of slave owners and white people who are powerful way back in the day, 1700s, 1600s, 1800s. Back then, they set up this system to where even in 2025, they could still be at the top. Whole time, I'm pretty sure that their ancestors weren't thinking about the fact that things change, and that's the only constant in this world is change. So here we are, where people are finally starting to realize, like, you know what, other people do deserve some of the things y'all have always been getting, and now they're claiming it's discrimination. People aren't hiring white people. White people are getting the bare minimum. White people are being pushed to the back. Whole time, white people were always in the back. It's just the fact that we were put behind y'all to make it seem like y'all were at the front. Does that make sense? Y'all have never been at the top of anything. But now, since the structure that we already have is set up in your favor, now you want to make America great again because it's unlike what has always been. Like, are y'all following? So now what do people do when they're at the top and they're in jeopardy of falling to the bottom? They do whatever they can to stay at the top, meaning if they have to make people of color fight, if they have to take away SNAP, if they have to cause martial law in our states, they don't care. They just want to stay at the top because that's where they've been. And anyone else that wants to be at the top, it's not going to happen because they want and own the top. So in order for us as the people at the bottom and the people that they see as the bottom to get back to the top, everything that's of now in America has to be dismantled. It has to be. Everything is falling. And that's fine, actually. We need to rebuild it. It's all based on BS. So yeah, it's just a battle of fragile male egos, fragile egos, white supremacy, systemic racism, and yeah, people wanting things to stay the same when things are inherently made to change. So it's only a matter of time before things actually do change and the collective consciousness actually catches up to the reality of where we are. Happy November.
Our silence is so disorienting for them. They want us to be mad and scared so bad. And y'all just refuse to give that to them. So here we are with made up stories about mobs of youth taking over the streets of DC with threats to occupy other predominantly Black cities. But we predicted this. We saw this coming. We've said that we saw this coming. And so to make this announcement and to do all of this extra just feels a little bit embarrassing on their part. Like, y'all been running the same playbook for 400 years. We saw you coming, guys. We heard you. White supremacy is literally a joke. They know it, we know it, and they know that we know it. They will do anything to hold on to whiteness because without it, they are nothing and would have to admit that there is absolutely nothing supreme about them and that other cultures have run circles around them, even with 400 years of a head start and stolen labor. White supremacy, Trump and MAGA are literally the death rattle of white supremacy, and they are fighting tooth and nail to stay relevant.
Now, brothers and sisters, in order to understand the current moment and how we got here, it will be important to define some terms. When we refer to white supremacy, we are not labeling individual white people as human beings. We are referring to a system and ideology that was created to justify the colonization of the land, the enslavement of people, segregation, theft of indigenous people's land and natural resources, and global domination by white people. This system was created over many years through a variety of means. It was developed through the transatlantic slave trade, Jim Crow laws, apartheid in South Africa, and colonialism throughout Africa and the Caribbean. White supremacy has created and maintained imbalances of power globally through controlling education, the wealth of a nation, the narrative of media, the narrative of religion, and that of science, and even with respect to beauty standards. Let's be honest about what the truth is. My brothers and sisters, you cannot keep a system based on oppressing and controlling others forever. The end of oppressing and controlling your existence, such as the end of white supremacy, doesn't mean white supremacy is gone. It means that white supremacy is being challenged in ways we've never seen before. Now let's start by looking at how things look like globally. First, you are seeing a demographic shift. For example, predictions show that within this generation, white Americans will no longer be the majority. In Europe, society is changing because of migration from Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean. There are also changes coming globally by 2050. There will be 1 out of 4 people in the world living in Africa because Africa has the youngest population in the world. That will create differences in how global economic power, cultural power, and political power operates. Second, the control of the flow of information is collapsing. White supremacy systems have used their control of information as an advantage over the last several centuries. Books have excluded information about the successes of Black people. The media has characterized Africa as nothing but poverty and chaos. The movie industry has used white people as the standard of everything, including Black people's stories. Now, with the invention of the social media, a young person creating art in Lagos, Kingston, London, or Atlanta can tell their story without asking for permission. We are now witnessing cultural change with African countries renegotiating unfair trade agreements, Caribbean leaders demanding reparations for slavery, and Black Americans reclaiming their history outside of what they were taught in schools. Economic power is also becoming decentralized, with China's rise and BRICS expansion, along with greater levels of continental trade agreements in Africa shifting the global balance. Global financial and political dominance has resided primarily on Europe and subsequently the United States over the past 500 years. This dominance is now being challenged, and as global power changes, hands ideologies that help to maintain it, including white supremacy, are likewise beginning to deteriorate. However, one thing to remember about systems is that they do not collapse quietly. When white supremacy feels challenged, it typically retaliates. We have seen explosive political backlash, restrictions on certain types of textbooks, attacks on diversity initiative, empowering extremist groups, and an effort to reframe history and describe candid discussions about race as divisive. Having an adversarial reaction does not indicate that the opponent has strength. Usually, it shows that some opponent is insecure about themselves. People who are comfortable with their position of dominance have no fear of changing demographics. They feel no anxiety from the curriculum used in the public school system. They are not intimidated by the initiatives geared towards achieving equity. When an individual is concerned that they are losing control, that is often when they become frantic. Historically, white supremacy has used divide and conquer tactics by creating separation between black people who were held in captivity, creating separate groups in Caribbean, migrants, and Black Americans, creating divisions between Africans living in Africa and those who live in the diaspora. If the institutions that reinforce white supremacy continue to grow weaker, while we maintain our divisions, we will miss out on the chance to utilize this historic time in our favor. Now, as we dismantle a white supremacy society, let's be clear, we do not want to replace it with another form of racism. Instead, we want to create a system that is built on fairness, justice, truth, and human connection. We need economic empowerment, we need ownership, we need to tell our own story and teach people to understand history accurately. Finally, we need to create institutions which serve all people, regardless of race. Now, Generation Y has a unique opportunity to connect globally like never before and to question traditional narratives and structures of authority. They are less likely than previous generation to say this is just the way it is and simply accept the status quo. Despite this fact, supremacist ideologies are not going away. We must continue to make progress on each generation's behalf. Now, over the last century, the power of white supremacy as an internationally established doctrine has weakened considerably. This is a reality we must now acknowledge. The full collapse or evolution into a different form, possibly more covert, of white supremacy will largely be determined by a number of conscious individuals who will capitalize on this new development. History shows us one very important fact that no empire is everlasting. Rome's empire fell, the European colonial empires fell, apartheid fell, and Jim Crow fell. Systems based on the suppression of people always self-destruct when they are no longer able to sustain the internal contradictions they establish. There is no question that white supremacy is being attacked. However, the question is that what will we replace it with? Will we create stronger united front against it? Will we create economically sound community? Will we develop our cultural confidence? Will we become more politically aware, or we will remain preoccupied with our own petty quarrels on social media as larger systems around us continue to reassemble themselves? This is the time of global transition. If you found this breakdown insightful and instructional, please do subscribe to Kelly Real Talks. Hit the like button so that it helps to promote this conversation through algorithms. please comment. I love to hear your thoughts, and share this video with others who you think may benefit from having a clearer understanding of what is happening in the world and our society. See you in the next one, and thanks for watching.